Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive on Ears PX. You sent over a bunch of web pages about them. And honestly, I got to say, I was pretty surprised. I mean, I knew they did two-way radios, but I had no idea they were such a big deal. They've been around since 1999. They're one of the biggest players in the UK. And get this, they work with some huge EE names.
Yeah, when you think walkie-talkies, you don't necessarily think cutting-edge tech. But Ears is really in a league of their own.
It's not just about the radios themselves, right? They design entire communication systems, installation maintenance, the whole nine yards. They even have their own network technology. Earwave. Sounds kind of like something out of Star Trek.
Well, it kind of is like their own little version of Star Trek tech. You know how regular radios only work for like a mile or two? Earwave covers the entire London M25. Seriously, that's incredible. Okay, so they're clearly not messing around. But here's another thing that I found really interesting. They're not tied to any one brand of equipment. Motorola, Hytera, Tate. They work with all the big players.
That's actually a really good point. It shows that they're truly focused on finding the best solution for each client, not just pushing whatever they happen to have in stock.
Right, it's like they're fluent in the language of radio communication. They can find the perfect solution no matter what.
Exactly. It's about expertise just as much as it's about equipment. And speaking of seeing this expertise in action, you've included some case studies in your research. Now, let me tell you, some of these are seriously impressive. Let's jump into it, because seeing Ears in action really brings this whole conversation to life. All right, so first up, we've got Notting Hill Carnival. You know that massive street party in London? Hundreds of thousands of people, music, dancing, food, everywhere you look. I can't even imagine trying to keep track of everything that's going on.
It's a logistical nightmare, or at least it would be without the right communication system.
And that's where Ears comes in. They've actually provided the radios for Notting Hill Carnival for years, over 200 radios deployed for the event. Plus, they brought in this special system called Motorola Trabonnet. I'm guessing that's not something you can just pick up at your local electronics store.
Definitely not. Trevinet is seriously high-end stuff. It lets you connect multiple radio channels together so you can have different teams talking to each other seamlessly, like security, medical staff, you name it.
Okay, so basically it's like having a giant walkie-talkie network that covers the entire carnival.
Pretty much.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a massive street party to something completely different, the Ealing Half Marathon, 13.1 miles of runners. And of course, they need a way to communicate along the entire route.
Right, because what if someone needs medical attention? Or there's an issue on the course. You need to be able to get in touch with someone instantly.
And that's where Ears comes in again. They set up a system to cover the entire marathon route. They even have a picture on their website of an engineer installing an antenna on top of a church roof. Talk about going the extra mile.
Well, they do say God is in the details, but seriously, it just shows their commitment to getting the job done right, no matter what it takes.
All right, next up, we've got a case study that really highlights the life-saving potential of Ears' work. They did a project with the Royal Mail, specifically their e-courier service, which handles medical deliveries around London.
Okay, so we're talking about getting things like blood samples and medications where they need to go quickly and safely.
Exactly. And every second counts in those situations. So
Yeah.
Ears helped them set up a real-time GPS tracking system for all their deliveries.
So they always know where those critical supplies are. That's amazing.
It really is. Okay, last case study for this section. This one's a little different, but super cool. Ears did some work with a company called Telecity. They're a big data center company, the places that has all the servers and stuff that make the internet work.
Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures of those places. They're like giant warehouses full of computers.
Exactly. And they can be incredibly difficult to navigate. So Ears helped them set up a system to track their engineers inside these data centers using, wait for it, GPS.
Wait, hold on. GPS inside a building. How does that even work?
I know, right? It's
Yeah.
some kind of next level technology.
Yes.
But it gets even crazier. They also set up a system that lets those engineers make phone calls through their radios.
What? Seriously?
Seriously. It's like having a walkie-talkie satellite phone all in one.
That's mind-blowing.
I know, right? Ears is clearly doing some seriously innovative stuff. But how does it all work? What's the secret sauce? That's what we're going to explore next.
Okay, so we've established that Ears is doing some seriously cool stuff. But my brain is still trying to wrap itself around this whole walkie-talkie satellite phone thing. Like, how is that even possible?
It's all about pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible with communication technology. They call it telephone interconnect.
Telephone interconnect. Okay, what does that mean in plain English?
Basically, it means they can connect their radio systems to the regular phone network. So you can literally make a phone call using your radio.
No way.
Way.
That's insane. So I could be talking to my team on the radio and then seamlessly make a phone call to someone on the other side of the world, all without even putting down my radio.
Exactly.
That's incredible. It's a total game changer for organizations that need to stay connected no matter what, especially in emergency situations or when you're working in remote locations.
Right, like those medical deliveries we were talking about. Being able to make a phone call through your radio could literally save lives in those situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's telephone interconnect. Now let's talk about Earwave. You said that their network covers the entire London M25. How does that even work?
So traditional two-way radios use radio waves to communicate, and those waves can only travel so far before they start to get weak and fuzzy, especially in a crowded city like London with buildings and interference and everything else. So what Ears has done is essentially build their own private network of antennas and repeaters that are strategically placed around the M25 to boost the signal and make sure it reaches everywhere they need it to.
So it's like they've created their own little radio universe within London.
Pretty much.
That's amazing.
And because it's a closed system, it's much more secure and reliable than using public radio frequencies. There's no risk of interference from other users. And it's much harder for anyone to eavesdrop on your conversations.
Which is obviously crucial for organizations like the Royal Mail, who are dealing with sensitive information. Okay, so we've talked about telephone interconnect and Earwave. Now tell me more about this Motorola Trobonet system.
Right, so Trobonet is a really powerful tool. It basically acts like a central hub for all your radio communications. So you can use it to connect multiple radio channels together, even if those channels are in different locations.
So I could have a team in London talking to a team in Manchester, all through the same radio system.
Exactly. And you can also use Trobonet to set up things like emergency alerts and lone worker monitoring.
Lone worker monitoring? What's that?
So say you have someone working alone in a remote location. Maybe they're patrolling a building or doing maintenance work. With Trobonet, you can set it up so that they have to check in with the system at regular intervals. If they don't check in, it automatically sends out an alert so someone can go check on them and make sure they're okay.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having a guardian angel built into your communication system.
Exactly.
This has been fascinating. I had no idea there was so much to know about two-way radios.
Most people don't, but it's a fascinating field. And Ears is really at the forefront of it.
They really are. Well, this has been a real eye-opener. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And for everyone listening. Until next time, remember, the power of clear communication is limitless.